How rich can a person be? My wife is incredibly rich. People call her the Queen of Cloudridge because nearly half the city's properties are owned by her. We've been married for 5 years, and every time she goes out to meet her first love, she transfers a property to my name. By the time I have 99 homes in my name, she suddenly notices that something has changed. I no longer cry, beg, or ask her to stay. I simply choose the finest mansion in all of Cloudridge, bring the property deed with me, and wait for her to sign it. She signs the papers, and for the first time, she softens. When I get back, let's go watch the fireworks together. I quietly tuck the agreement away and hum in response. But I never tell her what she's really signed this time. It's not a property deed. It's our divorce agreement. The office television was broadcasting the story of Cedric Gardner's return. Tiffany Scorsese's eyes remained on the screen the entire time, even when she accepted the property transfer agreement from me and signed it without hesitation. Parnings Manor, located in the western suburbs, was one of the most sought-after properties in all of Cloudridge. It was nearly impossible to purchase even with money, yet it held no value in her eyes, just like I did. After the broadcast ended, Tiffany appeared to be in high spirits. She casually twirled the pen between her fingers after signing, then handed the property deed back to me. I must have transferred over 60 properties to you by now? You're basically a little tycoon, she joked. The delight in her tone was undeniable, but it had nothing to do with me. It was all because her first love was coming home. I stood in front of her and simply nodded. The mansion in the western suburbs has a view of the ocean. I really like it. Back when she was pursuing me, I had rejected her 99 times. Her persistence never wavered. After her 100th confession, we got married. But her love didn't last long. It disappeared the moment Cedric returned to Cloudridge. And that day was also our first wedding anniversary. I had been basking in the candlelit dinner she had prepared just for me, waiting with quiet joy for her to come home. Instead, what arrived was a property deed and a brief apology. I'm sorry, Matthew. I missed our anniversary. Will you forgive me? I chose to ignore the heavy scent of an unfamiliar cologne clinging to her skin, and for the first time, I told her I forgave her. To make things fair, I told myself I would forgive her 99 more times. Then came the second time, the third, the fourth. Throughout our 5-year marriage, she left me time and again to be with Cedric. Eventually, she stopped offering explanations. Before going to see him, she would simply hand me the deed to a new property. From the 1st to the 99th, I forgave her every single time. Now this was the 100th. But after this, I'd no longer need to forgive her. That realization made me smile. I looked at her calmly, no longer weighed down by emotion. She froze for a brief second, then averted her eyes. At that moment, I saw something unusual in her expression, a hint of reluctance. After hesitating for a moment, she said quietly, "When I get back, I'll take you to see the fireworks." In the past, even the smallest display of kindness from her would give me false hope. I would beg, and I would end up heartbroken. Because every time, she would pry my fingers off hers one by one and walk away without mercy, leaving behind just 2 words. "You're insane." But I had already gone insane 99 times. Now that the 100th time had passed, I didn't need to keep lying to myself anymore. Because hidden among the documents I handed her today was a divorce agreement. In 30 days, Tiffany and I would have nothing more to do with each other. There were 25 days left until our divorce was finalized. For the past 5 days, Tiffany's usually quiet social media had become unusually active. During the day, she and Cedric fed pigeons in the plaza. At night, they watched parade floats from the rooftop of a hotel beside the amusement park. I saw every step they took and every place they went together. As for the promise she made to me, I was sure she had already forgotten it. I got up and began packing. The floor was still a mess of scattered clothes and half-open luggage. That was when I received a call from her assistant, Gillian Ferguson. "Mr. Marsden, don't forget the fireworks show at 8 tonight, on Wilhelm Bridge. If anything goes wrong, Miss Scorsese will absolutely kill me." In the 5 years I had been married to Tiffany, Gillian was the only person who knew the truth about our marriage. Not wanting to make things harder for her, I said I would go. But when I actually headed toward Wilhelm Bridge, I found myself lost in thought. 5 years ago, shortly after we got married, Tiffany had arranged a surprise fireworks show just for me. Gillian had quietly tipped me off then too. Now 5 years later, I was going to the exact same place. Only this time, I felt completely different about it. By the time I arrived near the bridge, the area was already filled with tourists. There were even several news crews setting up their cameras. A strange feeling settled in my chest. Maybe I had misunderstood what this was, so I called Tiffany's phone. It was busy, and I called again. I wasn't even sure what I was hoping to hear. But no matter how many times I tried, she didn't answer. She never showed up either. It was almost 8 o'clock. Someone in the crowd shouted, "The fireworks are about to start." I heard Miss Scorsese plan the whole thing for her husband. I guess we're lucky enough to watch it too. I stood there frozen. Tiffany had always maintained the image of being single in public. There was no way the husband they were talking about was me. It had to be someone else. I knew the best view of the show was on the north side of the bridge. Since I was already there, I figured I might as well go take a look. After all, the fireworks had done nothing wrong. The crowd was thick, and I was gradually pushed to the front. That was when I saw her. Tiffany stood in the prime viewing spot, wrapped tightly in Cedric's arms. Fireworks exploded one after another in the sky above us, bright and dazzling. Each boom echoed sharply in my ears. Over the sounds of the crowd and the fireworks, I could hear Tiffany uttering a heartfelt confession to Cedric. A reporter stepped up with a microphone and asked Cedric, "Sir, how do you feel about that?" Tiffany looked up at him with obvious anticipation. Cedric accepted the microphone with a small, shy smile and opened his mouth to speak. But then our eyes met, and Tiffany froze. She murmured instinctively, "Matthew." For a moment, Wilhelm Bridge fell into complete silence, and even the fireworks seemed to fade. Everyone turned toward her voice and followed her gaze to where I was standing. Cedric looked at me, then turned to her and asked, "Who's that?" Tiffany licked her lips awkwardly, clearly unsure of how to respond. I smiled and stepped forward, unfazed by the attention. "My name is Matthew Marsden. I'm Miss Scorsese's." She immediately tried to stop me, but I finished the sentence anyway. "Cousin." As soon as the words left my mouth, I finally let go of the tension in my chest. Aunt Elena asked me to come check out her future son-in-law. Sorry if I startled anyone. Tiffany's expression relaxed at once, and she gave me a subtle nod of approval. She had never wanted me to reveal our relationship in public, and her mother, Elena Fletcher, felt the same. Every time I went out with her, she insisted I call her Aunt Elena. This woman, whom I had called Aunt Elena for 5 years, was the perfect excuse, carefully prepared from the beginning. The fireworks show carried on. No one was paying attention to me anymore. Then the weather turned. Out of nowhere, rain came pouring down. Tiffany quickly pushed through the crowd. "Cedric's not well. He can't be in the rain. Please make way." She carefully shielded him as she helped him into the car. And once again, I was left standing alone. The rain was ice cold, but I didn't feel a thing. Maybe 5 years of marriage had already numbed me. I got home and took a hot shower. By the time I came out, Tiffany was in the living room. She hesitated, then actually thanked me. "Thank you for stepping in out there. I mean, we're still secretly married. If things had come out, it wouldn't have looked good for Cedric. One day, I'll find a way to make our relationship public." I didn't remind her that there would be no more chances to go public. This marriage was already ending, and it might as well be erased from existence. It was better for both of us. Then, as if remembering, she asked, "But why were you even there?" I smiled and looked at her for a long time without saying a word. Only when her gaze started to shift did I finally speak. "Jillian asked me to go." Only then did she remember that the fireworks show had originally been something she promised me. But she had been too busy enjoying her time with Cedric to even think about it. "So next week." "Wait, no, I have to travel for work. Next month for sure. I'll take you then." I shook my head. "Let's see when the time comes." Tiffany seemed pleased by how easy I was being. She gave me a light hug. Never before had her arms felt so cold. She did end up going on that business trip, just as she said. Only this time, she brought Cedric with her. Outside of work, they went for candlelit dinners, visited museums, and ate seafood at a street stall she had never been willing to visit with me. She had once said to me, "I'm a CEO. I can't eat at places like that. It's beneath me." But in front of Cedric, Tiffany had no status to maintain. She was just a woman in love. 3 days until the deadline, Tiffany finally came home. She had been away for over 2 weeks, and during that time, I never once contacted her. Looking at the spotless mansion, she realized, perhaps for the first time, what I had contributed to our 5 years of marriage. "Babe, you've worked so hard," she said. It had been so long since I last heard her call me that. I couldn't even remember when it was. "I was thinking of taking you to see the fireworks the day after tomorrow, but they've recently banned all firework displays." I could hear it in her tone. She simply didn't want to go with me anymore. Cedric had probably said something. "Then don't worry about it," I replied. Tiffany paused, clearly caught off guard that I was letting it go so easily. "Are you sure you don't mind?" If this were before, I would have lost it and demanded to know why she never kept her promises. But now, her empty words no longer mattered to me. "It's just fireworks. It doesn't matter." Just like Tiffany, she didn't matter anymore either. After a long silence, she spoke again. "Then how about I take you to that mansion in the western suburbs the day after tomorrow? I heard you can see hot air balloons from there." I glanced at my phone. The calendar showed that the day after tomorrow was Valentine's Day. Would she really come see me on such an important day? She was probably just brushing me off. "Don't you need to be with Cedric that day?" I asked. Tiffany's expression stiffened. "I've spent plenty of time with him. It's time I spent some time with you." Even as she said it, she seemed to realize how absurd it sounded. Her eyes dropped to the floor, but I didn't call her out on it. I simply played along with the lie. That day also happened to be the day our divorce would be finalized. It was fitting, in a way. One day left until our divorce was finalized, and Tiffany hadn't shown up at all in the past 2 days. She had been busy with Cedric, probably trying to smooth things over. Still, she would send me trivial messages every night, celebrity gossip, photos of stray cats she saw on the street, and funny memes from social media. It was as if we were just a normal married couple living apart, chatting about nothing in particular. In 5 years of marriage, Tiffany and I had never shared that kind of daily banter. I didn't understand why she was suddenly doing it, and I didn't want to understand. Over those 3 days, I had been busy moving out. I had gradually packed my things and sent them off to Newford. Moreover, I finalized a lease agreement with a realtor and arranged to rent out all 100 properties under my name. Eventually, the movement caught Tiffany's attention. That night, she called me. "Jillian said you've been moving?" I responded casually, "Yeah. Aren't we supposed to go to the western suburbs? I like it there." Tiffany was silent for a moment, then said, "If we're setting off fireworks over there, that's fine." I shook my head, then responded with a hint of jest, "Better not. You might get arrested." She seemed relieved. "Then just wait for me there tomorrow night." I answered with a quiet hum, just as a notification popped up on my phone confirming my flight booking. Tiffany paused again, then repeated the words, as if sensing something. "You have to wait for me." "I will," I said. But the next night, she never came. Jillian called to apologize. Tiffany had a meeting and would be running late. On social media, however, Cedric was in a hot air balloon, and Tiffany was right there in his arms. I glanced at the time. My flight was leaving in 4 hours. The divorce agreement would take effect in 2. There probably wouldn't be a chance to tell her in person. There were 3 hours left, and I stood in the mansion Tiffany had given me, looking out at the river beyond. Dozens of hot air balloons floated in the air. I had no way of knowing which one was theirs. Thinking of the promise she had made yesterday, I couldn't help but laugh. If she knew this was the last promise I would ever wait for her to keep, would she come back right now? I went back inside and looked at the small suitcase in the living room. I didn't have much here. This place had always been nothing more than compensation for the 100th time she broke my heart. Leaving here now felt oddly meaningful. With just 2 more hours left, my lawyer sent over a message of congratulations. "Congratulations, Mr. Marsden. Happy divorce day. I'll have the divorce decree delivered to you shortly." The divorce decree arrived in the final hour. Just like that, my marriage had officially ended. I picked up my suitcase and prepared to leave. Traffic on the highway to the airport was a little backed up. As I sat in the car, I happened to glance out the window and saw Tiffany speeding toward the western suburbs. I looked down. That fleeting moment of passing one another on the highway would be the last time our paths crossed. But then, she stopped her car and turned to look in my direction. Her car was a sleek silver streak against the asphalt, unmistakable even in the blurring lights of evening traffic. Tiffany's silhouette was framed in the driver's window as she idled in the opposite lane, blocked by the gridlock heading toward the suburbs. For a second, time seemed to stretch. She turned her head, scanning the cars in my lane. Her eyes were searching, frantic, as if she could feel my presence through the steel and glass separating us. Did she see me? The tint on my taxi window was dark, a one-way mirror protecting my anonymity. I watched her pull out her phone and dial. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Tiffany calling. I let it ring. The traffic light ahead turned green. My driver accelerated, and just like that, the silver car and the woman inside it slipped backward into the past. I didn't look back. I didn't pick up the phone. The vibration stopped. Then it started again. And again. By the time I reached the airport terminal, I had 17 missed calls. I stood at the check-in counter, handing over my passport. The agent smiled. "One way to Newford?" "Yes," I said. "One way." As I walked toward security, my phone buzzed with a text. "Tiffany, where are you? The mansion is empty. Your things are gone." I didn't reply. I dropped my phone into the plastic bin for the X-ray machine. As it disappeared into the tunnel, I felt a strange lightness in my chest. It wasn't happiness, not yet. But it was the absence of weight. The 100th forgiveness had been granted. The debt was paid. I was free. Tiffany Scorsese stood in the center of the living room at Parning's Manor. The silence was deafening. She had rushed here, leaving Cedric in the hot air balloon with a flimsy excuse about a family emergency. She had driven like a maniac, her heart pounding with a dread she couldn't name. When she unlocked the door, she expected to see Matthew sitting on the couch, waiting patiently as he always did. She expected his soft smile, his quiet "you're late." She had her apology ready, a practiced mix of charm and regret that always worked. But the room was dark. She flipped the switch. The furniture was there, the expensive leather sofas, the crystal chandelier. But the personal touches were gone. His favorite mug wasn't on the coffee table. His jacket wasn't draped over the chair. She ran upstairs to the master bedroom. The closet was open. Her clothes were still there, rows of designer dresses and suits. But the other side? The side where Matthew kept his modest collection of shirts and trousers? Empty. Panic, cold and sharp, spiked in her chest. She pulled out her phone and called him again. Straight to voicemail. "Matthew." She left a message, her voice trembling. "This isn't funny. Where are you? Call me back." She paced the room, her heels clicking loudly on the hardwood. On the nightstand, she saw a large manila envelope. It wasn't gift-wrapped. It wasn't a love letter. She walked over and picked it up. It felt heavy. She opened the flap and slid the contents out onto the bed. A stack of documents. On top was a single sheet of paper, typed neatly. To Tiffany. I kept my promise. I waited for you. But you didn't come. The 100 properties are now under the management of a rental agency. The income will be donated to the Cloudridge orphanage. I don't need your money. I never did. Enclosed is your copy of the divorce decree. It is final as of 6 p.m. today. Don't look for me. You have Cedric now. Be happy. Matthew. Tiffany stared at the words. They didn't make sense. Divorce? Final? She grabbed the legal document underneath. Decree of dissolution of marriage. Signed by a judge. Dated today. She scanned the signatures. Her own signature stared back at her from the petition line. What? She whispered. Then she remembered. 25 days ago. The property transfer she had signed while watching Cedric on TV. She hadn't read it. She had just signed, eager to get back to watching the news. No, she gasped, dropping the papers as if they burned her. No, no, no. She scrambled for her phone and dialed Jillian. Jillian. Where is he? She screamed the moment her assistant picked up. Miss Scorsese? Who? Matthew. Where is my husband? I don't know, ma'am. He told me he was moving to the western suburbs mansion. Isn't he with you? He's gone, Jillian. He left divorce papers. He tricked me. Jillian was silent for a moment. Miss Scorsese, he didn't trick you. You signed the papers weeks ago. I notarized them because you told me to handle whatever Matthew gives me. Tiffany sank onto the bed, the room spinning. Find him. Check the airlines. Check the trains. Find him now. Newford was different from Cloudridge. It rained more. The buildings were older, made of red brick and ivy. It was a city of bookstores and coffee shops, not skyscrapers and penthouses. I rented a small apartment above a bakery. The smell of fresh bread woke me up every morning at 4 a.m. It was a good smell. I got a job at a local university library. It was quiet. I shelved books, helped students find references, and ate my lunch in the park. My phone number was changed. My social media was deleted. I was a ghost. For the first month, I checked the news from Cloudridge every day. I couldn't help it. Real estate tycoon Tiffany Scorsese announces engagement to childhood sweetheart. The headline stung, but less than I expected. The photo showed Tiffany and Cedric at a gala. She looked beautiful. He looked dashing. They were the perfect couple. So why did she look so tired? I zoomed in on the photo. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. There were dark circles under the makeup. I closed the tab. Not my problem, I told myself. Not anymore. I started dating myself. I went to movies alone. I bought a bicycle and rode along the river. I learned to cook things that weren't just quick meals for one person waiting for a wife who wouldn't come home. One rainy Tuesday, I was stocking the philosophy section when a student approached me. Excuse me, she said. She had bright green hair and glasses. Are you Matthew? I froze. Who's asking? Professor Langdon sent me. He said you're the only one who knows where the archives for the 19th century periodicals are. I let out a breath. Right. Follow me. As we walked, she chatted. I love your accent. You're not from here, right? Cloudridge. I lived there for a while, I said vaguely. My cousin lives there, she said. She says it's crazy right now. The Queen of Cloudridge is apparently having a meltdown. Canceling deals, firing people. They say she's looking for someone. My step faltered. Is she? Yeah. Some ex-husband who ran off with millions. Or maybe he didn't take anything. The rumors are wild. I stopped at the archive door. Here you go. 19th century is on the left. Thanks. She bounded in. I leaned against the doorframe. Tiffany was looking for me. But not because she missed me. Because she was losing control. That was the one thing Tiffany Scorsese couldn't handle. Back in Cloudridge, Tiffany sat in her office, staring at a private investigator. We traced a credit card purchase to a coffee shop in Newford. The PI said, sliding a photo across the desk. Grainy security footage, but it looks like him. Tiffany snatched the photo. It was Matthew. He was wearing a thick sweater she had never seen, reading a book, looking peaceful. She felt a surge of rage. How dare he be peaceful? How dare he sit in a coffee shop while she was drowning? Go to Newford, she ordered. Bring him back. Miss Scorsese, the PI hesitated. He's not a fugitive. He's a divorced man. I can't force him to come back. That's kidnapping. Then tell him. Her voice cracked. Tell him I need to talk to him regarding the properties. Tell him there's a legal issue. Just get him to meet me. The PI nodded and left. Tiffany swiveled her chair to look out the window. The city lights of Cloudridge glittered below her. She owned half of it. But lately, the victory felt hollow. Cedric walked in without knocking. He was wearing a silk robe, holding a glass of wine. He had moved into her penthouse 3 days after Matthew left. Babe, Cedric whined. You've been in here all night. Come to bed. Tiffany looked at him. Really looked at him. He was handsome, yes. But he was also shallow. In the past month, she had realized that Cedric loved the lifestyle she provided, not her. He complained if the chef was late. He pouted if she couldn't fly him to Paris for the weekend. He was a child. Matthew never complained. Matthew cooked dinner when the chef was off. Matthew rubbed her feet after a long day of meetings and listened to her vent about board members. I have work to do, Cedric, she snapped. You're always working, he huffed. You're obsessed with that ex of yours. It's pathetic. He's a loser, Tiff. Let him go. Get out, she said. What? Get out of my office. Now. Cedric rolled his eyes and slammed the door. Tiffany put her head in her hands. She opened the bottom drawer of her desk. Inside was a small velvet box. It wasn't a gift from Cedric. It was a watch Matthew had given her for their second anniversary. It wasn't a Patek Philippe. It was a simple vintage watch he had restored himself. She had never worn it. She thought it was cheap. Now she ran her thumb over the leather strap. It smelled faintly of him. You promised, she whispered to the empty room. You said you'd always be there. But she forgot the other part. The part where she pushed him away 99 times. I knew they found me when I saw the black sedan parked outside the bakery for 3 days straight. I didn't run. I was done running. On the 4th day, I walked up to the car and knocked on the window. The PI rolled it down. Tell her I'm not coming back, I said. The PI sighed. She's on her way, Mr. Marsden. Her jet lands in an hour. I nodded. Fine. Tell her to meet me at the Riverwalk Park. Bench 4. Sunset. I went to work. I shelved books. I helped students. I felt calm. At sunset, I walked to the park. The river was turning gold in the fading light. She was already there. Tiffany was wearing a trench coat and sunglasses, trying to look inconspicuous. But her posture gave her away. She stood like she owned the park. I approached the bench. She took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red. Matthew, she breathed. She reached out to touch me. I stepped back. Hello, Tiffany. Her hand dropped. You look good. I am good. Why did you leave like that? Without a word. I left you a letter. And a divorce decree. That's plenty of words. You tricked me, she flared up, the old Tiffany resurfacing. You made me sign that paper. I handed you a paper. I corrected. You chose not to read it because you were too busy watching Cedric on TV. That's on you. She flinched. I made a mistake, Matthew. Which one? I asked gently. The first time you left me for him? The 50th? Or the 100th? I stopped counting, she whispered. I didn't. She looked at the river. Cedric and I. It's not working. He's not who I thought he was. He's exactly who he always was, I said. You just never looked closely because you were in love with the memory of him. And you took me for granted because I was always there. I can fix it, she said, turning to me with desperate intensity. Come back. We can remarry. I'll sign a prenup giving you half of everything. I'll make it public. I'll tell the world you're my husband. No, I said. Why? Do you hate me? No, I said honestly. I don't hate you. I just don't love you anymore. You killed it, Tiffany. In. Lie by lie. She started to cry. Ugly, heaving sobs. It was the first time I had seen the Queen of Cloudridge break down completely. I'm lonely, she choked out. I have everything, and I have nothing. You have 100 houses, I said. Go live in them. I turned to walk away. Matthew, she screamed. If you walk away, I'll destroy you. I'll ruin your life. I stopped and looked back. She was trembling, her face a mask of fear and anger. You can't ruin a life that has nothing to do with you anymore, I said. Goodbye, Tiffany. I walked away. She didn't follow. Tiffany returned to Cloudridge alone. She broke up with Cedric the next day. She threw his clothes off the balcony of the penthouse. The tabloids had a field day. She buried herself in work. She became ruthless. Her profits soared. She bought more buildings. But every night, she went home to Parning's Manor. She slept in the guest room where Matthew used to sleep when she kicked him out of the master bed. She hired a curator to find every gift Matthew had ever given her that she had thrown away or put in storage. The vintage watch. The handmade scarf. The simple pearl earrings. She displayed them in a glass case in the living room. A museum of regret. 6 months later, I received a letter in Newford. It wasn't from a lawyer. It was from the Cloudridge Orphanage. Dear Mr. Marsden, we wanted to thank you for your continued donations from the rental properties. But we also wanted to inform you of a new, anonymous donation. A new wing is being built for the children. It will be named the Matthew Marsden Center for Arts. The donor wishes to remain anonymous, but she requested that we send you the blueprints for approval. I looked at the blueprints. It was beautiful. I smiled and put the letter in a drawer. I didn't call her. I didn't write back. I went downstairs to the bakery. The owner, a warm woman named Elena, ironically, smiled at me. Fresh croissants, Matthew? 2, please, I said. 1 for me and 1 for a friend. I walked to the park. Sitting on bench 4 was the student with the green hair. We had started having coffee together on Tuesdays. Hey, she said, looking up from her book. You're late. Had to read a letter, I said, handing her a croissant. Good news. Closure, I said. The best kind of news. We sat there, eating croissants, watching the river flow. Tiffany was the Queen of Cloudridge. ruling over her empire of glass and steel. I was just Matthew. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. Epilogue. 5 years later. The fireworks over Wilhelm Bridge were spectacular this year. Tiffany stood on the balcony of the bridge's VIP viewing deck. She was alone. She was always alone now, despite the entourage of assistants and suitors. She looked at her wrist. She was wearing the vintage watch. It had stopped working years ago, but she never took it off. Happy anniversary, she whispered to the empty air. In Newford, I was also watching fireworks. But not from a VIP deck. I was sitting on a picnic blanket in a crowded park. A little girl, 3 years old, was sitting on my shoulders, squealing with delight. Look, Daddy. Boom. I see it, sweetie, I laughed. My wife, the girl with the green hair, now a sensible brown, leaned against my shoulder. You okay? Yeah, I said, kissing her forehead. I'm perfect. I looked up at the sky. The colors exploded and faded, beautiful and transient. I didn't think about property deeds or mansions or broken promises. I thought about how lucky I was to have lost everything, so I could find this. The past was a ghost. The future was a firework. And the present? The present was home.